abundance, 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 and gratitude to all. When y'all listening to this video, I ask that you listen to it with your third eye. Those that have a soul, listen to it with your third eye. Those that have a spirit, listen. It's up to you what you want to, how you want to listen to this or not. Here we go right here. Listen to the wordplay that the scientist is going to use when it comes down to describing Atlas. When he say that it could be serial killers that's on this craft. Now I want you to know something. A lot of us on this planet, when our brothers and sisters do touchdown, it's going to think that our brothers and sisters are serial killers, because no matter the age, no matter the ability for the organism that can defend itself or can't defend itself, no matter the size or the age of the complex cell, there will not be an ounce of leniency shown, as well as so-called black men on this planet that is practicing transgender and homosexuality, as well as adults, grown children, convincing smaller children that they can also practice homosexuality and transgender and sex change and take hormone blockers or hormone endocrine disruptors. You all will be fucking dealt with immediately. Immediately. Also, so-called black people that are supposed to have so much wisdom and so much intuition, and who they're speaking to. They're speaking to higher councils. They're speaking to the chief operator of Ashtar. They're talking to all these higher corporate people that's in another realm, that's giving them messages that they should be doing in this realm. I'm telling you, everyone is going to be accountable for their fucking words. I want you to know this. And the influence that you had on other people. Now, let me just tell you this. The people that you had influence on, they're going to be judged for being a follower and not taking advantage and using their own fucking mind. Absolutely. But those that supposedly come across this enlightenment, this wisdom, and you pick and choose what you want to use to fit your narrative, so that way you can gain some sort of independent social success or economic success. Oh my goodness, you have no French toast idea. You have no idea. I want you to listen to this very carefully and listen to the words that they chooses to use when they're describing what you call Three-Eye Atlas.
So this mystery object has been added to the International Asteroid Warning Network. That's the first interstellar object ever to make that list. So I got to ask you, what the heck is Three-Eye Atlas, and why the clouds of mystery around it? NASA's like tight-lipped.
Watch for it starting this week. We're going to begin to monitor and see whether or not it picks up extra energy as it whips around the sun.
So it's Wednesday, right? October 29th, I think it goes the closest point to the sun. Is that right?
That's right. That's the perihelion.
Okay.
And at that point, if it picks up extra energy, that's outside the ordinary bounds of the conservation of energy. So watch for it. As it whips around the sun, if it picks up extra energy, bingo. It means there's intelligent life that is guiding the motion of this object.
This is interesting. Right now, something is happening in our solar system that's sending scientists scrambling for explanations. The interstellar object NASA's been tracking, Three-Eye Atlas, is roughly the size of Manhattan and has been displaying several unusual movements and features which kind of defy typical behavior of comets. It's even catching the attention of some military analysts. So what does this mean for all of us here on Earth? And what can this mysterious object tell us about what's outside our own solar system?
Do you believe that this is something more than just a comet?
Yeah, in fact, a few months ago, I defined a scale where 0 is a natural object, 10 is a technological object that could be a threat to humanity. You know, it's a blind date where on the other side, we may have a serial killer. We just don't know. And I gave it a 40% chance based on 8 anomalies that it shows. object that could be a threat to humanity. It's a blind date where on the other side we may have a serial killer. We just don't know. And I gave it a 4. It's a technological object that could be a threat to humanity. It's a blind date where on the other side we may have a serial killer. We just don't know. And I gave it a 4, a 40% chance based on 8 anomalies that it shows of being technological. And of course, if we get more data and it looks like a comet, a natural object, then I would revise my ranking, but it will never go below 2 out of 10 because we know the trajectory is aligned with the planets, and the chance for that happening at random is really small.
So we're going to be watching to see if this thing makes any sudden moves over the next number of weeks. Dr. Avi Loeb, we're going to keep an eye on it.
All right, for the future of everything, now to what might be the most consequential news of the week, of the month, or even the decade, or the century. Bear with me. I know I get a little bit stoked about this stuff, but there are 2 scientific papers that just dropped that absolutely blew my mind. There's been so much talk about whether aliens exist. You got the UAP hearings, all those black and white military videos, drones in the sky, then obviously AI making things even more confusing. Well, for me, there are 2 papers that are out right now that just cut through all of the noise by going back in time and taking a look at sky survey plates from the 40s, the 1940s and 1950s. Basically, these are pictures of our night sky and all the stars night after night before humans ever sent anything into space. This is pre-Sputnik, pre-Apollo, like nothing metallic, nothing reflective should have been orbiting planet Earth, right? Well, guess what? There were lights in the sky that they still can't explain. They call these transients. Sometimes they were there, sometimes they weren't. Take a look at this right here. So this is the night sky, September 1952. September 1952 on the 14th, a little bit later. July 1952, all of these 3, they look the same, except for right here. What the heck is that? What is this little blob of lights? It wasn't there, and then it was. This is where things get weirder. These papers found that they were most likely to be seen, thousands of these, most likely to be seen when nukes were being tested here on Earth and when lots of people reported seeing UFOs. Again, this is before we ever launched a single satellite. This picture right here, the dates around this, the one that we were just talking about, the dates were around a time when UFOs were seen for several hours over Washington, D.C., the White House, the Capitol building, air traffic controllers. They reported seeing them on their radar all around those dates, July 1952.
Just 2 ingredients.
52. And joining us now is one of the authors of both of those papers, Beatrice Villarroel. She's an astronomer at the Nordic Institute of Theoretical Physics in Stockholm. Beatrice, thank you so much for being with us. Congratulations on both these papers. Let's start with as simple of a question as possible here. These lights in the sky from before Sputnik, were these artificial objects orbiting Earth before we were ever in space?
From what we see, these kind of transients or flashes that you see, they have a very interesting feature. You usually get these kind of flashes when you have something that is very flat and very reflective, and in a, let's say, in a geosynchronous orbit at, let's say, 42,000 kilometers
Wait, hold
altitude.
on. Very flat, very reflective in geosynchronous orbit. That doesn't sound
around the Earth,
natural,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes, and the funny thing is that we can show that there are solar reflections because there is a deficit of them in the Earth's shadow at these altitudes, and that means that at least a fraction of the transients of these flashes that we're looking at, like 30-35%, appear to be due to these solar reflections of such objects. And if we think about that, these transients come from images taken before the first human satellite, they do look pretty artificial. Although I would say that nature can always surprise us with things that we just can't imagine right now.
Well, there's a split in the astronomical community. the majority faction says, what's all the fuss about? I mean, it's just a rock from outer space, and it's going to come through our solar system for the first time and then come whizzing back out again. It's the third known object from outside our solar system, so what's the fuss? Another faction, however, says, now, wait a minute. Perhaps this is a visitor, an intelligent visitor from another solar system, and perhaps this week we could have a test of it. That's right. This week, it turns out that the asteroid or comet will be whizzing around our sun, and if it picks up extra energy on its flyby, that would clinch it. That means there's extraterrestrial intelligence involved. So watch for it. On October 30th, starting then, we're going to track it to see whether it gets an extra boost of energy. If so, it means we are being visited.
NASA is launching its Artemis 2 program in 2026, I think, sending crewed missions around the moon and then landing on the lunar surface. Let me ask you, Professor, when do you think that we might see some permanent bases on the moon? Should we? Do we know everything about the moon already or not? Certainly the dark side is different. And what about Mars? You think we'll ever set foot on Mars?
Well, that's a wish list of what we have for NASA. However, it's going to take time. For example, we've been talking about going to the moon for decades, and finally, it's going to come to pass. Within the next few years, we're going to launch not just a manned probe around the moon, we're going to land on the moon's surface itself. And so this is all on the agenda for NASA in the coming years. And then after that, the next target is going to be Mars. But we'll wait and see. We've had so many setbacks, so many disappointments, but now we think we have the momentum to go on to a flyby around the moon, land on the moon, and then on to Mars.
So if I were one of your students, I would go, ooh, 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 like, Arnold Horshack, and ask you, do you think that there is life in the galaxy somewhere? That this could be, what do you think it is? What do you think this thing is?
Well, I'll put my money on the bet that there is intelligent life throughout the galaxy. Not only that, but I think there's intelligent life in our neighborhood, the neighborhood of the Milky Way galaxy. And so I think that don't necessarily bet the house on it, but I would say that yes, there's intelligent life out there. The big question is, can they visit us? That's the big question, because just to go to the nearest star would take 70,000 years with a conventional rocket. That's how long it would take just to go to Alpha Centauri. So we need something like warp drive. Now that, of course, is on the wish list of every science fiction writer, but that's what's required if we're going to meet intelligent life throughout the galaxy. Warp drive.
Speaking of Alpha Centauri, maybe it's...
All right, pause. Quick question then. You know how you know this intelligent life that's here? How did these two people get here? Look at the pink skin. Look at both of their pink skin. Just look at that. The difference between them, one was genetically spliced with a chimpanzee. The other one with a unisnub-nosed monkey. Rhesus monkey. This is the difference. How did y'all come into existence? That's the whole question. You see? And then they look, NASA hopes to get humans back on the moon in 2027. You see what that number is? You see that gematria number right there? That's 11. This is over, people. This is completely over. They know it. This shit is a joke.
the Robinson family finally getting back on the Jupiter 2. I don't know. We'll find out.
There are thousands, tens of thousands of these, if I understand it correctly, maybe even more. What did you think when you started to see a correlation between nuclear testing that was going on around that same time, also these UFO sightings that were happening around the United States? That correlation, did that stick out to you right away? Were you kind of sketched out by it?
Well, like the first time when we saw that, it was by coincidence. My friend David Altman, he tells me about Washington Flap, 1952. And then by chance, I discovered that our best candidate when we were looking for a land transient also came from the same Washington 1952 flap, just from the other weekend, because it was distributed over 2 weekends. And I was like, this is weird. And then that was what formed the hypothesis that we wanted to test. Is there a correlation in time between these transients and UFO events? And we see it's a weak correlation, but it's statistically significant. And we find that.
I mean, you strike me as a very open-minded scientist, which is what science is supposed to be all about. Hello. Open-minded scientist, which is what science is supposed to be all about. But what do you think this might be?
Well, I mean, here we can only speculate wildly. If we look at the numbers, like just from the Northern Hemisphere, we have 35,000 transients. I don't know how many of these come from what. I mean, one object could give several transients, but it's also possible that we're missing a lot of transients. So I would estimate it to be somewhere between tens of thousands to maybe 100,000 of objects, or 100,000 of objects or so around the Earth. And artificial is a possibility. Who knows? Like if it's some ancient space trash from some past civilization, or if we are having some probes that came from another planet. I don't know. I hope that some astronomers that are like well trained with working with this kind of data, I'm talking about professional astronomers, that they will want to try to redo the same analysis, both with Palomar but also with other surveys and other plate surveys in particular, because that could really be helpful, because we need to see if this result can be replicated with other surveys, and if it is, then it's going to be extremely fun, or not.
As a human on planet Earth, who made this discovery, what's the significance to you?
I just want to know what these objects are, and I want to know why they're here.
You will soon find out. You will truly, and let me just let you know, they already know. That's the whole thing. What they're trying, what independent scientists or them trying to do, they trying to save their own ass. They trying to say, well, we're not a part of the race that did this to these people. See, you have so-called white people on this planet, or complex cell or pink-skinned people. Let's not just say Europeans, Asian, Arabs. Let's not say just white people. You have them that say, I would never harm black people. I don't want to do any harm to black people. Here's the problem. Your bloodline is doing it. And by you ignoring that and keep looking at my brothers and sisters in the sky and how advanced they are, and that they're sitting there observing this bullshit down here on the planet. They have been watching, observing for quite some time, since the beginning of this shit had went down, because they're never going to allow this to get completely out of control. What we think is out of control is not out of control, my people. Just believe that. Understand something. So to sit there and have this puzzled look on your face, knowing that your genetics doesn't even match the planet in which you live on, and be like, I want to know what these are or what they are up in the sky. Knowing you didn't launch a satellite up in the sky at all at any particular time. During those times, you didn't have a satellite to sit in the sky, but yet you have nothing but different objects and lights that are up above your head. Remember that message from 1977. For many years, you have seen us as lights in the sky. This message is to our dear friends. We too have watched you grown over the years. You have watched our lights in the skies as well. You know that there are more beings on and around your planet than your scientist admits. Oh, this is going to be classic, people.
So, what these objects are, and I want to know why they're here. So, I don't know really what I can say. It's just I'm curious, and that's it.
Curiosity killed the cat.